Nature was the OG technology. What do I mean by this is let's take a perspective into our ancestors before time, before any systems, before colonization, before the internet. You see, how our ancestors learned was through the observation of nature. They used the observation of their cycles, of nature cycles, to begin to learn how life worked. The birth, growth, death, and renewal, your winter, spring, summer, and fall. You see, this connection with nature, with the stars, the sun, the moon, it allowed them to operate beyond the physical senses, to see life from an energetic perspective, giving them an energetic understanding of life, to feel the spirit within nature and within themselves. But then the indoctrination happened, then the colonization happened, and the systems and the stories that the societies that came to those places started to bring, right? They started to transform and colonize the mind of our ancestors. And we begin to slowly lose that connection due to us choosing to accept someone else's truth. And you watch it throughout history, and it just got more modern, right? With technology, with the ability to now widespread these fabricated truths across the nation so that the collective can now begin to have to accept these truths, teach it in the school systems. But what we're going to talk about is technology, right? Because what has happened now is they've told us that our society is advancing, but it is technological advancements. And what this technological advancements has done is disconnected our connection with nature and prohibited our conscious advancement. We have now begun to choose a hyper reality, choose to scroll on TikTok, to scroll on social media, seeing others fabricated realities, whatever they we are seeing whatever somebody else is choosing to put out there and choosing to accept that as our reality. We are choosing to sit and play video games all day, lost in a virtual world rather than going outside and choosing to touch grass, as they say. Right? But we haven't stopped to ask ourselves, what is this doing to our consciousness? Where does this lead us in the future? Because as I've stated in previous videos, this system has found a way to please the senses and get us dependent on conveniences. And the biggest convenience is technology itself. So we have to begin to ask ourselves, how do we begin to cultivate our conscious advancement once again? And I feel it starts by making those changes in our life. We have to understand that technology does not have to be used as a distraction, but it can be used to gain our greatest power, the power that our ancestors knew, the power of self, the power of our connection with nature. So try putting the phone down and going outside for a walk. Clear your mind. Understand that this dopamine, this overstimulation of dopamine that comes from this virtual reality, right? Is in part the cause of that anxiety that one may feel. So when we choose to bring ourselves back to center by reconnecting with nature, we give our mind time. We give our mind and our body and our soul the space it needs to breathe outside of the overstimulation that comes from this technological world. But the thing is, we have this technology now and it can't go away. But how do we begin to cultivate a civilization that is not dependent on this technology, but one that is also not disregarding its existence? How do we use it in harmony with our conscious advancement rather than letting it prohibit our conscious advancement? And it goes back to the point I made. It's beginning to use technology as a way to gain the knowledge of self. So we can use nature to help us understand the energetics of self, to reconnect deeper with self, but also use technology as the modern day ether, right? The ether is where all the infinite wisdom lies, but now it's been manifested into the physical. You have a spiritual topic you want to look about, there's a video out there. It's how you found this video. So it's now about changing what we are desiring, changing, allowing these conveniences to prohibit our conscious advancement, but using it to advance us consciously, desiring change, no longer fearing change, no longer allowing the fear and the anxiety and the depression that in somewhat is caused by our diet, and our diet being what we're taking in consciously, what we're taking in on a body level, what we're eating and what we're listening to. By changing that allows our mind to begin to change, but using this technology to now help us with that change and choosing to reconnect back with our roots. I This thing came to me, right? Our ancestors lie in the elements. And what I mean by this is we are spirit. And by understanding spirit, we understand that spirit lies in everything. And so our ancestors have transitioned from this realm and into the spirit realm. And so, since spirit is everything, if we choose to just sit in stillness with ourselves outside in nature, we can begin to learn from nature as our ancestors once did. And maybe sometimes, whether it's a bird chirping or a squirrel runs across or the wind slaps you in the face, those are forms that our ancestors are speaking to us. So by choosing to disconnect from this hyper virtual reality that they've tried to confine your mind into, we can begin to connect back to nature, connect back to our roots, and begin to use it as the purpose that it was intended for, to create a deep, meaningful connection with self and help us understand self from a spiritual perspective. So that is the power of connecting back to nature. My name is Mark Anthony, and this is Elevated Talk. Thank you so much for joining me here, and peace to all. Much love.